In today's video, I'm going to be making a delicious caldo de pollo con arroz. It's a Mexican style chicken soup and it's got rice and some vegetables, and I know you're going to love this recipe. Let's get started. I've got my chicken here ready. I'm using 3 chicken thighs and 3 chicken legs. Now, I think if you've seen some of my videos, you know that I always cut off like the ankle part of the chicken leg, and I just like them like this. Now, these are the 3 thighs. I've cut them in half, as you can see. I don't like big chunky thighs in the soup, so I cut them up in half like this. So they'll be smaller pieces, and I just think they look better in the soup. Now, this one I left it alone because it wasn't that big. Now, I remove the skin on the 3 thighs and I leave the skin on the legs. And the reason I do that is because I don't want a lot of grease in the soup. I don't want a real greasy soup, you know, with all that grease floating on top. But I do want some of that skin in there because that's what gives the soup a delicious taste. So 3 pieces with skin and 3 pieces without. So now we're going to sear this chicken. I'm going to add a little vegetable oil to my pot. Not too much. I just want to put a little bit at the bottom just to coat it a little bit. So my pot is nice and hot. I'm going to add my chicken. Now I'm making 3 thighs and 3 legs because it's going to be 4 of us eating this soup, and I think it's just the perfect amount. But you can put in as much as you want. I'm going to let it sear like that for a little bit before I flip it over. So it's been about 4 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and flip them over to the other side. Just like that. Okay. If you leave them alone for about 4 minutes on medium-high heat, they won't get stuck on you at the bottom. Now I'm going to leave them alone like that for about 4 minutes. Okay, so it's been about 4 more minutes. Can you see that grease that the chicken has released at the bottom? That's what's going to give our caldo de pollo a delicious taste. So now I'm going to add my water. And I'm going to add a little bit more. I'm going to put in 1 tablespoon of salt. Just like that. Now I'm going to replace my lid and bring it up to a boil. Now while I wait for my water to come up to a boil, I'm going to get my spices ready to go. Now you've seen me do this 100 times probably. I'm going to go ahead and put in some peppercorns. I'm going to put a little bit of cumin and some garlic. I'm going to go ahead and grind them up really good. Now I like to use the fresh stuff because it gives it a delicious, authentic taste. Now you can just add a little bit of ground cumin, some regular pepper, and some garlic powder if you want. I just think that the freshly ground stuff is what gives it a fantastic, authentic taste. So I'm going to go ahead and grind these. So I have my garlic and my cumin and my peppercorns ground up really well like this. I added a little bit of water. I'm going to go ahead and set it aside. Now I'm going to cut up my tomatoes. So I usually like to cut them up in half first like that. And then like this. I'm going to go ahead and remove the core. We don't want that in there. Just like that is good. So I'm going to go ahead and put these right here on my plate. Just like that. Now I've got half an onion right here. I'm going to go ahead and put half an onion in there. Just going to cut it up into pieces like this. And then like this. See? Just like that. Now I've got some cilantro. Now I removed the long stems from the cilantro because I don't like the way they look when they're floating in your caldo. You know, long stems. So I took those off. And I'm just going to give it a rough chop like this. So here's my cilantro. It's like that. I'm just waiting for the water to come up to a boil, and we'll be going into that next step. Now the water in my pot is just coming up to a boil. I'm going to go ahead and remove all this protein that's forming up here at the top. So I have removed all the protein from the top. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my vegetables. I'm going to add my onions and my tomatoes and my cilantro. Just like that. I'm going to add 1.5 tablespoons of tomato paste. This will give it a very good flavor and a beautiful color. In there like that. I'm gonna add my spices. This is my garlic, my cumin, and my pepper. Just like that. And I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of chicken bouillon, just so that it'll give it an extra kick. And it'll give it a fantastic chicken taste. I'm going to stir it around so that that tomato paste can just dissolve itself really nicely. And as you can see, it's got a very pretty color, you see. Now the reason that I added these ingredients in here first, for the first 30 minutes, is because I want them to release all their flavor with the chicken to give us that delicious tasting broth. So I'm going to go ahead and replace the lid. I'm going to set my timer for 30 minutes. And then I'll be back. Now I still have about 20 minutes to go. So I'm going to start cutting up my vegetables. I have 3 carrots, and I have peeled them, and I have washed them really well. So I'm going to go ahead and cut them up into pieces. Now I don't like to use real big pieces, just some nice bite-sized pieces. See? Just like this. Now I've got my celery here. Now, as you can see, it's got some of the leaves in there. So what I do is I go ahead and cut it right at the joint, like that. And I go ahead and use this, because this gives the soup a fantastic flavor. So I don't discard this. Now I'm just going to give it a light chop like this. Just like that. And the celery. Not too big, not too small. See? Just like that. Set this aside. And I'm going to do the same to these 3 pieces. See, just cut off the joint. So you don't want that in there. Now, many people like to add different vegetables into the soup. You can add whatever you want into your chicken soup. You can add squash. You can add zucchini. You can add corn, chayote. Just whatever you want to add into your soup. So I've got my celery and my carrots. Now I've got my potatoes in water so that they don't get dark on me. I'm going to go ahead and cut them into pieces. Okay? Just like this. You don't want your pieces too big and not too small, because then they'll get real mushy on you. And that's good. Now one thing that I'm going to add in here that I always add to my soup is a piece of sweet potato. Now this is just half of one. I like to add it in there because it gives it a different taste. And I just cut it up into pieces like this. You see? I'm going to put it right there. Now you don't have to use a lot of it. I usually just use half of one. You don't have to use a lot. Just like that. See? And then I have my other potato. I'm using 2 potatoes and half of a sweet potato. Just like that. Now these are the vegetables that I'm going to be using. The celery, the carrots, the potatoes, and the sweet potato. So I'm going to go ahead and set this aside until it's time for me to put them into the soup. Now I'm going to be toasting my rice before I put it into my soup. So I'm going to add just a little bit of vegetable oil like that. Now this rice, I have already rinsed it out really well and I let it drip dry, as you can see. I'm going to go ahead and add it in here. Just like that. You don't have to let it get really dark. It's just to give it a light golden color. So my timer just went off. I decided to leave it an extra 5 minutes because the chicken legs were a little chubby. So it's been 35 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and taste it. This would be a good time for you to taste it so you can adjust your salt. Perfect. Now I'm going to add all my vegetables. And I've got some fresh corn right here. I took off the cob. I'm going to go ahead and add my corn in there too. And my rice. See, my rice is a pretty golden color. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a nice stir. Look at that. See? Oh my goodness. And this is going to be so delicious. So I'm going to go ahead and replace the lid. And I'm going to set my timer for about 20 minutes and I'll be checking it then. So my timer just went off. I've gone ahead and turned off my stove. See? So I'm going to go ahead and remove the pot off the stove like that. And it's time to serve. And here's our caldo de pollo con arroz, our Mexican style chicken soup with rice. Now it's time for the taste test. Now I made some corn tortillas. As you can see, they're still very nice and hot. Now traditionally, we eat it with corn tortillas. Mmm. 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 And here's a piece of that sweet potato. Mmm. Oh my goodness, it is delicious. So this is my caldo de pollo con arroz, my Mexican style chicken soup with rice. If you like my video, give me a thumbs up, send me a comment and tell me what you think. And do subscribe if you haven't yet. Share with your friends. Thank you.